Hello and welcome to Afternoons with Amanda, except it is not Amanda, it is Kaitlyn Neukam here, and we are here to have one of our In.form segments this afternoon. Kaitlyn Neukam, of course, for WBDC and 18 WJTS, and we have a very, very, very special reason as to why I'm at the studio and not Amanda, because our very special guest is Amanda Tempel herself. Welcome.
This is so weird to be on this side of things. This is so exciting, though. I'm so glad we're doing this.
Yes, it is. It has been a long time coming. We've got a lot of stuff to kind of trek over and whatnot, but Amanda is your afternoon DJ. She's been with BDC for quite a few years now, and we're excited to give you a moment away from the board and to celebrate some stuff you've got going on behind the scenes, on air, and all of this stuff. So, of course, thank you for humoring me today. We're going to get into a lot of different stuff. So first and foremost, will you tell us about yourself like we've never heard you on this station before? Because, again, for my 18 WJTS viewers, there are a lot of people who may or may not know about you, about what you do, and there's a lot of things you do behind the scenes. So give us the rundown. Let us know about Amanda Tempel.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, again, thank you for this. I grew up right here in DuBois County, St. Henry, the big town of St. Henry. So, that's my backstory. People always want to know where you're from. But I've been at WBDC for 3 years now. I got my start actually probably about 4 years ago. Ty and Beezer reached out to me and they're like, hey, have you ever thought about maybe doing a news segment? So I had the Country Music Minute that used to air on Thursdays. It's probably been 4 or 5 years ago at this point. But then an opportunity came for the afternoon DJ spot. So I've done that. You can hear me for Lunch with the Legends.
Yes.
And then I've got my new program, Across the Country with Amanda, on Sunday mornings.
So you do, for those who are not, so we've got all of our WBDC programs, of course, but also at the same time, you're doing a lot of things behind the scenes, which is kind of what we're bringing to light today, is really just highlighting all of these podcast experiences you have. You do blogging and all of these things that you do 24/7 to really make the country experience even greater, which is, again, I'm not a country person, so I don't appreciate it probably as much as others, but it is extensive work that you do, and it's very, very exciting to kind of take the journey with you. So before we kind of get into the nitty-gritty of all of these fun things, can you tell us a little bit about what started your passion for country music, for artists, for all of these things that you do? Because it's not very often that Southern Indiana made people, per se, are very drawn to Nashville, Tennessee, or anything like that. And you've spent your whole life loving country music, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was named after a Waylon Jennings song, so I think, that kind of comes with the territory. But I began freelance writing probably 15 years ago, so that's where I got my start. And to go back even further, how I kind of got started, industry-wise, I was in a few of Blake Shelton's music videos.
What?
Yeah, so that was a really fun experience. And then one time I got to go to the CMA Awards when Blake was performing, and he had a crowd for his segment. So they put us in the middle of the arena, and I was in that little mosh pit there. So, but we had to go to rehearsals and everything. So being a part of the CMAs for the first time, that was so cool to me, because I'm sitting there and we're having our lunch break and there's George Strait, just walking by, or Carrie Underwood's right there. So it was so cool to be a part of that. And I think that really kind of ignited, I want to do fun stuff like this, make life fun. So that really ignited. I got into freelance writing. So that led to opportunities to, go to shows, review shows. I've done a lot of photography throughout my career. So capture those shows, do interviews, and it's just all kind of blossomed into this.
Yeah, I didn't realize we had an actor here with us today. I can appreciate, but no, that is such a unique way to kind of get started. And again, I'm not a big country music person. I'm probably going to get some disdain from that, but I know those big names, and that's a huge deal. And being able to just start in one small place and really just expand it into what works for you and what's comfortable is super neat. And again, even I didn't realize that you've done so much over this the span of your career. So now, the real reason we're here to do your interview today. So back on September 26th, not too long ago, you celebrated a huge milestone for your show across the country with Amanda. Can you tell us more about that? Because for our Monday through Friday listeners, again, there's more stuff that you provide on the weekends that we can get into here.
Yeah, so I celebrated the 1-year anniversary of Across the Country with Amanda, and I'm telling you, this year flew by. So excited. But Across the Country with Amanda is a show that I started to kind of, I love all kinds of country. When people say like they don't like today's new country, like I take offense to that because there's so many good artists. Like, I understand there's the bro country. We've got that. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing.
Right.
You've got bluegrass influenced Americana. There's just so many new artists and so many acts that I grew up loving, like Vince Gill, Alan Jackson, Susie Boggess, John Anderson. They're putting out some of the best music of their careers. And for me, I wanted to have a place where you could celebrate all of that, where you could hear those artists back to back. You could hear somebody like Zach Bryan or the Red Clay Strays up against a new Vince Gill song or an established emerging act. So that's what I wanted to do. That was my goal. And I cannot believe that a whole entire year has flown by with this. It's so exciting. And the support that I get from our listeners is incredible. So I, wanted to do this show. I put it together, and it just gives me the chance to also go do the deep dives.
Yes.
Because with what I know, I love to go into the deep dives and talk about, I could go on forever, whether it's about a certain artist, a certain album, or maybe it's something in the news. This gives me the opportunity to do that.
Yes.
And I really, really love that. What I was not expecting, I thought, okay, we'll give it a shot. We'll put together this radio program, put it on Sunday mornings. It's grown. It's now a syndicated program.
Syndicated internationally, might I add. So we have a global superstar right here in Jasper, Indiana. So that's why it's so huge for us to really promote and tell people about this big show that you put on every single week. It's a 2-hour stint. That's a quite a stint of time to prepare and whatnot. But you're bringing in so much every single week, and you're all around the country.
Yeah, that's really been an exciting part of this because, when I got my first affiliate, I got one. And the syndication side of things, so I have a company that it's their job to go out and, try to attract all of these stations around the world. And they do a fantastic job of that. But, they told me, they're like, syndication's hard.
Right.
You can't expect that overnight you're going to have, a million different stations. They said, if you get 1 to 2 in the next 6 months, you are so lucky. Mm-hmm. And for the past year, we're over a dozen at this point, which is so exciting, to think that like my stuff's being played in Texas or New York or in Canada. That's really exciting for me. And then to be able to connect with all of those listeners who reach out on social media, things like that, has been really excited about that.
Yes. And for those who are maybe not too clear on what syndication is, think of WBDC as a radio station, and then we actually bring in programming so that people can listen to it and have a different view on things, different flavors. And sometimes that means that those people that are hosting those shows are actually not in our general area. And so Amanda in herself not only is on BDC as a weekly staple here and with her pivotal show on the weekends, but she's also on a lot of different other radio stations. And another big thing that people may or may not know is Across the Country with Amanda is on demand because it is a podcast format, right? Yeah.
So I also, I have got weekly segments that I do. So maybe you hear an artist interview, maybe you hear me talking about, a certain subject, topic. You can go onto my website. I've got a link there to the podcast, and that's going to give you like the full version of all of that. So you can hear the interviews, like all interrupted, the long form interviews.
Yes.
So, and for me, there's so many ways to consume all of our media these days. And so when I do an interview with an artist, I want to make sure, okay, I'm going to do this with video, radio. You can go to the website and read an article. You can go to the podcast, just get as much mileage as you possibly can out of something.
As much mileage as you can. I like that statement because, again, there's media coming in from all different facets, but across the country is kind of the central hub of everything you do, and then, again, pushing it out to where it needs to go. So, a year has gone by, and, again, you've kind of stated that it's crazy to think that you've gotten this far and you have as many syndicated programs, and you just keep going up this forward momentum. But in the past year, what can you say has been most exciting for you to see besides the few things that you've added? Because, I mean, there's got to be a lot of different facets to everything that you do to produce across the country with Amanda.
Yeah, for me, it's been a learning experience, definitely. So, and it's been a challenge for me to just learn what goes into syndication because, if you listen to my program, like I have what they call a show clock. So that means you have, this segment has to be 20 minutes because that station has to put in their advertising. So just learning all the technical aspects of all that has been, it's been a learning experience, definitely. But as far as the fun side of things, just the interview opportunities. I went to CMA Fest earlier this summer, and that was just so much fun to, meet with all those artists, do all those interviews, and to be able to promote up-and-coming acts. I love doing that, getting to know their music, getting to know them, and giving them, an outlet that they can promote that stuff. I'm always, looking for up-and-coming artists. Like, I don't care if you have a record label or not. I want to learn about them. I want to hear their music. So that's really important to me. Over the years, just getting to do all the interviews that I've been fortunate enough to do. That has taken years of building those relationships. So to have artists, record labels, PR people who trust me enough to, interview their artist and promote their albums, I don't take that lightly because you have to keep those relationships intact to be able to have that kind of those opportunities. So getting all those chances, it's just been so rewarding over the years.
Yes, and I will also note that as you kind of dove into before, you do not discriminate as long as it is country music. Your taste for country music, I think, is unique because you have such a broad span compared to others where, again, it's a certain genre or it's a certain just narrow niche, or maybe we all just like one artist, which is perfectly fine. But for what you're trying to convey, it really definitely helps. So do you have like a favorite artist or a person that you've had on your show so far? Because, I mean, you've had the gambit, and it's some names that I know my country music loving mother would of course know, but I'm maybe not too well equipped. But is there anything that you were really excited, anyone you were really excited to interview?
Yeah, so, again, all these up-and-coming artists, it's so cool when they're in the early stages of their career because they're so excited. They're, experiencing all this stuff for the first time. So that's exciting to be a part of that. Then you got the big names. You got the superstars like George Strait, Carrie Underwood. And those are just moments you're like, is this really happening? For me, like the artists that I grew up with, when I went to CMA Fest this summer, I got to speak with John Barry. And I never had the opportunity to talk with him before. And his life story is incredible. Like he was selling CDs out of his car, and he was selling hundreds of thousands of CDs, just being this young artist. He didn't have a record label. That's how he did it. The mid-90s, early 90s came, and he gets a record deal, has huge success right out of the gate, and he has to get brain surgery. He wakes up out of brain surgery, and he's told that he has the #1 song in country music.
Wow.
And just his stories and all the details that he could share about that was just incredible. When they share those life stories, that was a lot of fun. And also, he was in one of the Muppet movies, and I thought, I had to ask him about that because I'm like, those are movies that I remember when I was a kid, and so it was so much fun when you get to kind of that. Everybody loves nostalgia.
Yes.
So that those kind of artists, I absolutely love that, and everyone that I've ever worked with, they've been so incredibly gracious.
Which is fantastic to hear because, again, you never know what you're gonna get, and these individuals have their own lives, so just being able to spend a few moments with them and get what you need out of that, but at the same time getting to highlight their story because you recited that gentleman's story perfectly. So obviously, again, it shows that you care, and it shows that you are not afraid to get into the details of all of these things, which is just phenomenal. So Amanda, will you tell us, for, again, our more common BDC listeners and even those for JTS that might recognize your face now that we've got to see it on camera for once and in a little bit of time, will you tell us the difference between your various shows, because some of them are BDC based, and then you have your big baby that you take care of every single week?
Right. So you can hear me after the noon news for Lunch with the Legends. I love doing that. I love playing all the classics. That is so much fun. Then you, obviously, 3 to 6 afternoons with Amanda, where we play our superstar country. So you're going to hear all the hits of today. You're going to hear the 90s, 2000s, a little bit of the 80s in there. And then on Sunday mornings, beginning at 8 a.m., that is Across the Country with Amanda. So you're going to hear, again, all the big superstars of today, but we can expand a little bit. We're going to hear those artists who are kind of on the fringe of country. So we've got there's so many big artists nowadays that, maybe they don't get radio play because they're not actively seeking that. Acts like Turnpike Troubadours. One of my favorite bands of all time, Cross Canadian Ragweed, they're coming back on a massive tour. So being able to play those songs, I love doing that. But again, keeping those classic country elements in there as well.
Yes, and again, just emphasizing that you span so many different genres, different country facets, and at the same time, all of these programs, if you are listening for the BDC aspect, all of them are available online to stream or on your car radio. If you want to visit the website, WBDC.us, you can stream it anywhere. It does not matter what country, where you're at, just as long as you have an internet connection. And so far as across the country, will you remind us one more time kind of where we can go to make sure that we have those on-demand podcast episodes, or how do we stay in touch with you as you travel across the country per se?
Yeah, so you can go to acrossthecountry.com. That is my website. That's got everything there, all your links, everything like that. I'm also on all the social media platforms, so Facebook, Instagram, those are great places. I have a weekly newsletter, so you can sign up for that so you don't miss anything. Gonna be venturing into the TikTok and YouTube world. So that's
influencer Amanda.
Oh gosh, that's no. But that's something new that I've taken on as well. So hope to have that rolled out within the next few weeks.
And again, reminding anybody who's watching or listening that I think one thing you take into account, which is so unique, is that you want to get your media everywhere. And again, just bringing it to the people no matter where they're coming from, and bridging that gap, I think, is so, so important, especially in today's world where all the information is everywhere. Amanda, of course, it's always a pleasure to get to see you in the afternoons when you're here in the studio. It's always a pleasure to get to hear your amazing stories and whatnot. Do you have anything else you want to add while we give you your time in the limelight? Because normally we keep you behind the scenes and there's no cameras and whatnot, but today is your day to shine, and again, we're just so proud of you for all this great work you've been doing.
Well, I appreciate that so much. This has been fun. I like doing this. It's a lot less pressure. I don't know. Maybe there is more pressure on this side of the microphone. I'm usually where you are at.
Yes.
But the listener support. Our listeners have been completely, absolutely amazing. They have followed me through this whole journey, which I appreciate. They're the ones who I love. When people call in or they text in and they say, "Hey, I love this song," or they tell me about a concert they went to. I love hearing people's stories. And that's what it's all about, that human connection. So I love when they say, "Oh, I'm really loving this new song by whatever artist," or they ask me, "Hey, have you checked out this new artist?" That's what it's, all about. And I love playing their request. And yeah, it's what it's all about.
It's what it's all about. Amanda, of course, thank you again for letting me take up your airwaves this afternoon and giving us the rundown, because again, there's a lot that we don't see, but we know that you're off doing that amazing work. And I don't think BDC programming would be what it is, at least for the past few years, without you. So we appreciate all the hard work that you've been doing. And I honestly want to see where you keep going so far as journaling all of these various stories, because it's a very good odyssey to kind of see you traverse. But thank you for your time today, and thank you for coming on my show, because this is kind of unique and different for all of us.
Absolutely. I love this. We need to do this again.
We'll make this into like a weekly thing, almost like a podcast per se. Well, you have been listening and watching your In.form program right here on 18 WJTS and, of course, 101 Country WBDC. To get more information about our afternoon DJ Amanda and all the amazing stuff she does, make sure to go to acrossthecountry.com and learn more. And now we will go back to Till a Tear Becomes a Rose right here on 101 Country WBDC.